The refinery itself, local and national government agencies, as well as 2 local community groups, got together and created a website. The purpose of this website is to allow users access to the data from the monitoring stations. The monitors operate continuously, delivering data at 5-minute intervals, 24 hours a day, and this information is posted on the website every 6 weeks.
We developed a database with the help of funding from EPA so that we could centralize the information and have it available for the community. Often what happens after a big release is that people want to know what the results are, and they want to know what the results mean. So we usually do a report, and community members hold a public meeting, get together, find out what happened during the release. They bring up problems that occurred, such as we didn't get a warning when the community warning system didn't go off like it was supposed to, and the county told us that they didn't get the report from the refinery until 2 hours after the release started. And people usually talk about what the health effects they experienced. And then afterwards, everybody wants to talk about what they can do to prevent this from happening again.
According to government agencies and industry, there is no evidence to support that the health effects observed are connected to the emissions. Some residents feel that living close to a refinery puts their health at risk.
What kind of dismount was that?
I lived downwind from a refinery that was just rancid, just was inundating us with chemical smells on a daily basis. And we started to get really concerned because our children started having problems, and we started having respiratory problems, and colds were lasting longer than normal. My kids on the outward look totally normal, but when you look at their age and you compare them to other children of their age, there's no comparison. They're roughly about 2-year delayed. They both have neuromuscular coordination problems. They both have stamina problems. They both have speech problems. My son especially has anger issues. So yeah, I mean, I have 2 handicapped kids who I love dearly, who are the pride and joy of my life. But they're a handful, and it's harder than heck, and yeah, it's affected our lives. I was actually hoping when I went to the geneticist that they'd come up with, it's you, or you and your husband, or find some sort of a known syndrome or something, because then it would be something that I wouldn't have had any control over. But to have found out that there's nothing that the geneticist could find on either one of my children, and that was a hard thing to swallow. And so I can understand why people don't want to buy into it. They don't want to have that kind of guilt hanging around their neck.
In order to prove a direct relationship between emissions and health, there is a need for more scientific research about the particular health effects, not only of chemicals individually, but of the impact of mixtures of chemicals. Because of this, residents' personal diaries of odors and physical symptoms, combined with the lab results from the buckets, becomes an effective way to show the relationship between chemical releases and health risks.
Community members are a good source of information about their health. I think it's very credible when people didn't have a health problem before, a big cloud comes over the community, they start coughing and feeling sick, and they feel sick for 2 months afterwards. I think there's a good chance that it was associated with the release. That's not often taken seriously, unfortunately. That's another reason for the bucket samples to be taken, because then people can show, yeah, I felt sick for 2 months afterwards. Here's what was in the air when the big cloud came over. So it's easier for people to document.
The Bucket Brigade has always taken the position that if the company admits that they released that pollution and we can find it in dangerous levels in the community, it's time to start working on cleaning up that pollution, because there are many new technologies being developed. Some of them have been around for a long time that are not being implemented at the refinery on the other side of the fence. So our position has always been, we don't need to wait for the body count. We don't need to wait for science to catch up with what people in the community already know. We need to start working on reducing unnecessary pollution that's found where people are trying to live and raise their families.
Some people definitely want to get involved. They want to know what it is that we're doing and how we do it. And then there are others who just don't get it. That's the only way I can describe it. People, when you live in a certain environment over years and years, you just get accustomed to things being what they are. And unfortunately, people just accept that instead of stepping up and trying to affect change.
Trying to get it.
A recent study by MIT has verified this, that once the community started monitoring, the government started monitoring more, the industry started monitoring more. It increased the level of activity and oversight by everybody once the community started the ball rolling.
It provides people with an affordable and accurate technique that shows them what is in the air that they are breathing. With this information in hand, residents can exert the necessary pressure to start cleaning up air pollution.
Everybody has a role to play in environmental monitoring. We would argue that the community role is perhaps the most important, because these are the people that don't go home at the end of the day when the shift is over. They don't go back to another community where they live. They're there all the time. But it's very important for government and industry and environmental groups to do their work as well. The Bucket Brigade is not intended to replace that. There's actually a cooperative process that people can work together face to face in trying to make progress.